Hi, good morning. Well, wonderful. I do want to tell you about some of those financial aspects, but I want to tell you about why we're doing all that financial work, and it's really about the creatures, the wildlife that we absolutely love, and they are the sharks and rays. A lot of the time, when we think about sharks, we think about big creatures. Tiger shark, up to 17 feet, incredible predators, omnivorous in the sea, whale sharks that can reach 60 feet, that can filter out the smallest of animals down to less than 1 millimeter in size, and then can travel thousands of kilometers, retaining this memory map of where they need to go to get their next meal. To the Caribbean reef shark, which is very coastally constrained, but one of the most important sharks in the Caribbean basin. To that incredible scalloped hammerhead, which has evolved over millions and millions of years to create this incredible head called a cephalofoil that is so beautifully adapted to catch fish, because this is mainly what they all want to eat. They've learned to swim on their side to save 10% of their energy using that big dorsal fin of theirs. And oh, by the way, I do want to do a little shout out here. For those of you who have maybe never swum with a hammerhead, we actually have a VR, a virtual reality swim dive with hammerheads, thanks to Oceans 360 Steve Mandel and Rick Miskiv, who shot all of this stuff today by the MarAlliance booth. Okay, that was my shout out. But all of these animals have evolved over millions of years to have these incredible skill sets that enable them to be the top of their game in their particular niche and habitat. And these skill sets don't just pop out miraculously. They don't just arise as large sharks immediately. They often start out as these cute, little, kissable, 1-foot animals that are all head and just a little bit of a tail. And they have, unlike us, no parental care. They're often born live, and they have to grow as quickly as possible in order to avoid their predators, find their place in their habitat. And for these young baby sharks, and I'm not going to start singing the baby shark song, don't worry, okay? I'm so done with that. I can hear refrains coming. This is not good. With the hammerheads, they need these shallow coastal areas where the sea is warm, where the food is abundant, but unfortunately where they tend to be quite predictable. And their predictability is unfortunately also their demise, because it is fisheries that are the greatest threat to sharks these days. We have seen over a 90% decline over the last 30 years in especially hammerheads. They eminently get trapped in nets. It's really, really, it's frightening because now they are endangered to extinction. And so we at MarAlliance are focusing a lot of our work now, not just on the adults that need our help, and they too are being fished, as you see from this adult scalloped hammerhead head that was caught by a fisherman in Honduras, but also on these small baby sharks, because it's been determined that saving their nursery sites, which is where they're pupped, they're called pups, and these small sharks, and enabling them to grow to adulthood is one of the best ways of actually securing a future for their populations. And how do we do that? Well, we are transferring our skills, all these capacities that we've built up in science, we're transferring them over to traditional fishers and to local students. And our teams are almost entirely local, because what we want to do is we want to create a love for these animals alive. We want to create empathy. Empathy is a key skill that you may have some of when you're born, but you can certainly augment tremendously. And so, for example, here, I'm actually working with several traditional fishers in Belize, and I'm teaching them how to catch the hammerhead gently, how to measure them, tag them, And they themselves are then transferring those capacities for research and monitoring to other fishers. And all of a sudden, we have this incredible horizontal diffusion between fishers and fishers in all these newly acquired skills. And it's not just the research, but it's also, as I mentioned, the empathy, learning that this little shark that you catch today could be an adult that will keep that population thriving for decades to come, because these are very long-lived creatures with gestation periods of often over a year and relatively small litter sizes. So they're very close to us in terms of their life history, which is what makes them so incredibly vulnerable to overexploitation. And it's not just that in-water work, hands-on monitoring, but it's also how are data collected? Why is science important? And what part can the fishers play in that data collection and that science? This is critical, because if they are to take ownership of some of this decision-making that is affecting the fish that they fish, they need to know how science is collected. They need to know how decisions are made. And so transferring these skills and these capacities to traditional fishers enables them to have a seat at the table when it's time to make decisions in marine protected areas and other sites that we're trying to conserve for the future of sharks and rays. And as I said, they then take all of these skills and transfer. Again, we've got Hilmar Salazar here, who is one of our key fishers in Belize, transferring knowledge and data collection over to Henry Mesquita from Mexico. And there's Hilmar again, transferring knowledge about a range of other technologies to a host of other fishers in Mexico. And before you know it, all of these fishers now have new skills that they're parlaying into economic alternatives that are bringing in thousands of dollars for them. And during that time, they're not fishing. So we are reducing fishing effort from some of the best fishers out there while they're working with us in monitoring. And it's not just about, again, the baby sharks, but it's also transferring those skills to yet another cohort of people. And here we've got Evan Cuevas in the blue shirt under the supervisory eye of our technical coordinator, Ivy Barrymore, who worked with NOAA for over 10 years as a shark specialist, works on deep sea sharks especially, and they're teaching Cynthia, our firecracker, amazing education outreach and research intern. We have everybody do many things in our organization. And she's learning how to tag a baby lemon shark so that she, in turn, can spread that knowledge. That's what a baby lemon shark looks like when you're actually releasing it after you've tagged it. And we take every opportunity we can to share that information, to educate. So now here we've got Hilmar again, whom we've taken to Panama. He's now sharing that information on the invasive lionfish, which was our entree to working in communities in Panama because they were worried about the lionfish, and educating the children there. Always fun is a really good part of what we do, and bringing in the crowds and bringing science also to local students. Very, very important. We really like to see an increase in scientific education, all the communities that we're working with. And of course, these have to be experiential, because if you don't have that connection with nature, why are you going to care for it? How are you going to create that empathy? So that's a very big part of what we do, is bringing children to the sea and getting them to know the sharks upfront and personal. But back to the small sharks. It's not just them who are learning all these amazing skills in order to thrive and survive. But like Joyce said, I formed MarAlliance just over 4 years ago. I'm a shark biologist. I don't know how to run QuickBooks. IRS, I know I have to file a 1040 because I have a US citizenship, but a 990, 57 pages? Are you kidding me? And what, you want an audit as well? Okay, so these were all new skills that I just had to learn. And thanks to Valita Allen, who is the financial controller for WCN, she came down, she got us ready for these audits. She helped us set up the QuickBook in the way that we needed. And I, in the meantime, through some of the professional development that WCN has provided, have learned leadership skills, have learned managerial skills that help me to better steward my not only my board and build my board, who's incredible. Big shout out to our board and MarAlliance because they have been so supportive for the work that we do, but also enable us to be an effective organization in doing grassroots research and conservation of sharks in multiple locations. We started in Belize, now we're working in Mexico and Guatemala, Honduras, Belize, Panama, Cape Verde, and Micronesia. And we can only do that because we've had all these horizontal transfers of skills, those that I've acquired, those that others have acquired, and we pass them all on amongst one another. Please reach out to my colleague Cynthia Lima, who's at the back of the room today, but she will be at our booth, and she's our Education Outreach Officer in Cape Verde. Talk to her as well. And with all these wonderfully skilled teams and people, we are better able to actually conserve the baby sharks of the world in their nursery areas. Thank you.